Hello, welcome to the channel. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. This week I am coloring with Copic markers the cover for my submission to the Comic Fury zine in Dreams, which is going to be releasing this July 2022. I decided I was going to throw my hat in. I did a video talking about my process for getting the ink job done, you know, doing a little bit of collage and stuff. So in this video, I wanted to do some Copic marker coloring. Before we get into this, I am going to tell you what colors I'm using and what other materials I'm using. Some of them I use more than others. Once I'm done giving you the materials that I used, then I'm going to just kind of talk about the process. I don't really have a lot more to say with the intro. My videos again are for adults, even though I'm not going to be cursing that much or anything in this video. Remember, this is for an adult audience. Dark Horse is free online. It's not safe for work, but you can always check it out down in the description. And if you feel like you want to support the channel or support my comic or anything like that, you can always feel free to do that down at any of the donation subscriptions down below or individual donations. I already have a handful of fantastic patrons, and I really want to thank them before we get into the video. Usually I kind of wait until the end of the video, but I've been trying to give them shout outs more because I really appreciate their support and how they've helped me throughout the years. So thank you to my patrons. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started into the video. I am working on a PM white A4 pad. It is, I don't know the brand, it just says .TOO2, but it is a marker pad. This paper is made in Japan. It actually is Copic marker paper. I got it at Gen Con several years ago, but I also bought a second pad for whenever this runs out. This is really nice paper. It's probably what I should be doing my comic on, let's be honest, but I'm cheap and I don't think this is very cheap paper, so I use it for special projects. Yeah, but I just wanted to kind of go into detail. You can see how transparent it is, especially at the beginning of the video, because I wanted to do like a color swatch before I got into actually coloring the image. Now the color swatches that I do and like the plan that I start out with, I immediately detour away from. Like initially I wanted to have like a gradation in the background that went from the night sky to like the sunset at the bottom of the page, but then I decided, you know, I really want to keep the colors minimal in this. I don't want to have a ton of colors, especially really heavily saturated colors. I really wanted to kind of keep it pink and pastel-y, you know, blues, purples. I didn't want to have too much red. The one thing that I did, you know, kind of shake up the color on a little bit was Rena, who is one of the characters in Dark Horse, and so that I felt was going to be necessary, one, because that's just, you know, her hair and skin color, but also because I wanted to make sure that she popped a little bit. Now, I know there's a cloud that's like right in front of the horse's body, and yeah, I mean, I'd be disingenuous if I said I didn't feel like drawing, you know, I can draw a horse body, and I just didn't want to. I mean, I can if I force myself, but the other reason why I put the cloud there was because that is where I planned to put the title for this little one-shot that I'm submitting to the Comic Fury zine. And at the end of the video, I'll show you what the cover looks like, but that's all I'm going to be doing on this specific project, because I want people to read it, because Comic Fury zine is free, and it's got a lot of cool artists, and I want people to, you know, just kind of read the whole zine and check things out. So that's going to be releasing in July. I already mentioned that earlier on, but, you know, repetition breeds results, or whatever they say. Okay, so the colors that I ended up using are, I'm going to lump the hues together, but these aren't in any particular order. Also, this video is not sponsored. The Copics I used were B45, Smoky Blue, B14, Light Blue, B16, Cyanine Blue, B41, Powder Blue, B29, Ultramarine. This color in particular was important for getting that schoolgirl uniform look for her Sailor Moon style skirt that she's wearing, which most of her body is covered by the wing. I'm calling it a unipeg, okay? Just gonna call it a unipeg. 39 Prussian Blue. I'm going to move into the violet. V22 Ash Lavender. Moving into the red hue. I used just a tiny bit of this. I used it after the fact. You won't see me use this in the video, but I didn't like how I had her lips colored, so R29 Lipstick Red. RV11 Pink. YR01 Peach Puff. Ooh. And let's see here, some of the other colors I used for her hair and for her Xena inspired breastplate. I actually mixed these two colors, you might notice whenever I'm getting to it. E39 Leather and E09 Burnt Sienna are what I used for Rena's hair. E35 Chamois? I think that's chamois. I think that's how they spell chamois. Not like the sham wow. Okay, no, just kidding. That's what I used on her breastplate. And then I also used just a tiny bit of neutral gray colors for just the slightest, not even like noticeable amount of shading, because it's a dream. I didn't really care about shading stuff, you know. I just did a little bit on the clouds, and that was N4 Neutral Gray 4 and N2 Neutral Gray 2. Other materials that I used on this were, I have like 100-year-old jelly roll pens. I'm shocked they have not, I'm shocked they haven't dried up yet. I'm not sure what's going on there, but hooray! Because I've had jelly roll pens like dry up on me before, but I've got, these are Sakura pens. They're medium. I use the gold a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. I use the silver on the silver lining for the clouds. I thought that was clever. Not really. What I find clever is mundane. I don't know. It doesn't have a color. It's just blue. It's a very beautiful glittery blue. And I use that on her tiara, the little gem in the middle of her tiara. Not very much blue at all for that. Oh, I also used a little bit for her sword, which is going to be in the comic series much later on. The sword has a name. I've already named, like, they all have, like, weapons and stuff that are going to be introduced at some point, but hers is Estacada. I did use some more of this Dr. P.H. Martin's Iridescent Calligraphy 11R Copper Plate Gold, because I just love this stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I also used for the sky some Sakura white gel pens, jelly roll again, which would be 05, 08, and I think I used the 10 a little bit, but I've been trying to lay off of it because I use it the most because it works the best. It rolls the smoothest, but I've been trying to make sure that I use my 05 so that, you know, it doesn't go to waste, and it actually worked very well on this, so I'm glad that I was able to get that, you know, get some use out of that. I've already talked a little bit about the influences on this piece and what the goal was with, like, Ren's outfit and why she's riding a winged horse and all that. I talked about that in a video that I shared in May. I'm really just going to talk about, like, the color choices, go into a little bit more in depth. I've been trying to be mindful of not overloading my images with too many colors. I do that sometimes, and there are occasionally reasons why I do that, but usually it's just because I'm very attracted to vibrant, heavily saturated colors. But I'm also trying to be mindful of, you know, things that kind of blend well together, shades and tints that look good. And for this specific image, I wanted it to be very dreamlike, and also I was keeping in mind, like, we just had the cover art contest end over on Comic Fury for the cover. And I didn't want to copy off the cover, which was created by Busty LaRue. She's a comic artist over there on Comic Fury. I did still, at the same time, want to kind of take some inspiration from her cover to kind of tie things in, because for the most part, people are going to be doing their own thing. And this is also, my comic is going to be my own thing. I haven't even seen what her finished pages look like yet, because we're still in, like, the draft part of completing things. But I did want to kind of just, you know, use that as a little bit of inspiration for like the sky specifically. I'm not gonna release the cover art yet. You'll just have to stick around, please, and take a look at what the zine cover looks like whenever it's released. But she has like a very cool theme going on with like the moon and like melty like sky with some gradation and stuff, because she works in watercolor, that specific artist does. And so I was kind of inspired by that a little bit with the cover. She uses 3 or 4 really beautiful colors, like more saturated colors, I should say, like purple, pink, blue, and reds in particular, which I omitted the reds. I wanted this to be very soft. I wanted it to be very pastel. I tend to not really work in pastels much, but I do get inspired by artists that I watch too. Like there's a chick that I watch, Lucid Nima. Her channel is really fun to watch. It's along the lines of Drawing with Waffles, but she does like her own thing. It's not like, her videos are different than Drawing with Waffles. And I always like to look at like how she uses pastels, because she's really good at like mixing her pastels. Copic markers and Hulu markers and stuff like, Ohulu markers. Ohuhu? No, not, oh my god, whatever the hell the name of those generic markers are. I guess they're not generic anymore because they're pretty popular, but Ohuhu markers. Anyway, so that's kind of where I did things differently in that I wanted to have the gradation from like outer space down to like kind of a pinky sky, because it's probably sunset or sunrise, we don't know, probably sunset. But I also, because blue is Rin's color, you know, with her like Crystal Lotus is like that deep kind of sapphire blue, I wanted to make sure that there was a little bit of that in there also. I mean, ultramarine is kind of similar to like the sapphire blue. Sapphires have always been like some of my favorite jewels. Everything's blue, that's my favorite thing. I like blue topaz too, but like anyway, I digress, none of this matters. But yeah, so primarily I wanted the clouds to be blue, a couple different tints of those. I kind of had the clouds lighten up a little bit that are in the background versus the ones in the foreground. And then with the horse, like originally I was going to have the horse's skin be pink, but just last minute I was like, no, I'm gonna have the horse's skin be purple. And then I was like, well, now I'm gonna probably need to change the color of the hair. And then I was like, well, let's do the pink, because then I was like, you know what, let's just use these 3 colors and that'll tie everything together. I'm so glad that I just kind of off the hoof, bad joke, but off the hoof decided to do that, because the Unipeg would have looked like a freaking clown horse, and that was totally not my goal. Especially because I never do like curly hair, and I've been trying to kind of get out of my comfort zone and do different types of hairstyles. Oh my gosh. But yeah, anyway, so that's kind of how I changed up the colors, but again, I just wanted everything to kind of coordinate. That's really what's going on in this image. I don't really have too much more to say about it. I did incorporate a little bit of gold and silver. The silver lining on the clouds I thought would be kind of cute. But then with like, you know, the whole Sailor Moon and Xena and She-Ra theme going on here, I wanted to pick the gold for like her breastplate and the Unipeg's armor and the Unipeg's horn. So that's kind of, yeah, I just thought that would be kind of a nice touch. They're not particularly neutral colors, but I thought that would help kind of pop out a little bit since most of the image is blue. But I had a really good experience. I don't use Copics a lot, but every time I do, I love them. I think they're really fun to work with. I would like to be better. My gradation isn't like fantastic, but I think it looks okay for what my goal was. There's plenty of clouds. I really loved how the Sakura gel pens kind of pop out on the sky, and I tried to make sure that I didn't like, you know, I didn't want to like OD on like the stars. I really wanted it to be kind of a trail across the sky and just a little bit into like the, well, I should say there's 3 colors in that the stars kind of go across, and that was the B39, B29, and the B16. So those are the only 3 colors that I allowed the white Sakura gel pen to kind of glide into with the stars. I didn't want to overdose things. I wanted to be very constrained, because I do like to do a lot of details, and sometimes that can overpower the image. And you know, to a degree with the cloud swirls and everything, it's still a little bit overpowered, but I think it works. I think it looks okay because in the end, the character, which is supposed to be the main focus, she and the Unipeg pop out great. So, I'm actually happy with this cover. That's all I've got to say about this image. I hope you all enjoyed watching me color this in time lapse. And I hope it inspires you to work on something of your own. If you're interested in keeping up to date with that, I will be talking about when the zine is released. If you're interested in participating, we got one more this year. You do have to be an adult, and the submissions must be not safe for work, because otherwise what is the point of a not safe for work zine? Sorry. But yeah, that's all I got to say this time. I hope you all have a great rest of the week. Peace and love. Fare you well. And keep on trucking.